The most dangerous sign in a person. The brightest flames cast the darkest shadows. George R. Martin. Sometimes, the most dangerous traits don't come with loud warnings. They hide in silence, charm, and control. In today's video from Spiritual Wisdom, we'll uncover the subtle sign Carl Jung believed marked the most dangerous kind of person. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. If you've ever sensed something was off about someone but couldn't explain why, this insight might just give you the clarity you've been searching for. Have you ever ignored a gut feeling and regretted it later? Share your experience in the comments. We're creating a space where deep intuition meets daily wisdom. 1. Danger comes in disguise. Sometimes the people who seem the calmest are the ones you should watch most closely. Their voices are soft, their manners polished, their smiles steady. They never explode, never argue. Yet somehow, after being around them, you feel emotionally drained, subtly disoriented, even a little unsafe. You can't explain why, because on the surface, they're kind, reasonable, generous. But your intuition doesn't lie. It whispers what your rational mind refuses to hear. Something about them is deeply off. Carl Jung warned us that true danger rarely presents itself as loud, erratic, or aggressive. The most threatening energies often wear the mask of order, charm, and self-control. This kind of danger doesn't invade your space. It quietly reshapes your mind. These people don't explode. They absorb. They don't confront. They calculate. And it is this very detachment, this cold, curated performance of being harmless, that makes them so difficult to detect and so dangerous to be near. Jung's theory of the shadow self reveals the inner mechanics behind this mask. The shadow is the part of us we suppress our pain, shame, anger, fear. When someone refuses to face their shadow, they don't become peaceful. They become controlled. Controlled on the outside, but distorted on the inside. Their buried chaos doesn't disappear. It becomes weaponized, subtly infecting their energy and interactions. You'll hear it in their tone when they pretend to encourage you, yet leave you doubting yourself. You'll see it in their eyes when they smile, but never actually soften. And over time, your soul will recognize the contradiction between what they show and what they truly are. These are not people who harm you with harshness. They harm you with confusion. Their politeness becomes a smokescreen. Their compliments feel strangely heavy. Their presence feels too perfect, too still. It is not stillness from peace. It is stillness from emotional suppression. And when someone no longer shows any signs of human messiness, no fear, no uncertainty, no vulnerability, it is not a sign of maturity. It's a sign of concealment. They have not transcended their shadow. They have silenced it. And in that silence, danger festers. We are taught to judge people by their behavior, their words, their image. But energy tells the deeper truth. When someone's presence makes you feel smaller, foggier, or chronically uneasy, it's not your job to find proof. It's your responsibility to listen. So many of us override our instincts in favor of being polite or reasonable. We betray our own nervous system just to keep the peace. But discernment is not judgment. It's spiritual intelligence. And ignoring it can cost you your peace, your clarity, your sense of self. The most dangerous sign in a person is not rage. It is polished emptiness. It is an emotional vacancy dressed up as strength. It is the ability to charm without connection, to help without empathy, to smile without sincerity. And when you see this mask, when you feel the energy beneath it, Do not doubt yourself. The soul always knows what the eyes cannot see. Are you beginning to sense the subtle signs beneath the surface? If so, comment below. I trust my intuition to affirm your commitment to awareness and deeper perception. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom so you never miss a truth that could change your life. 2. The mask and the shadow. Everyone wears a mask. Not a physical one, but a social one, shaped by what we believe is acceptable, likable, or good. This mask is called the persona. It helps us function in the world, gain approval, and avoid rejection. But behind the persona lives the shadow, a hidden part of the unconscious mind that holds every trait we've denied or rejected in ourselves. Anger, jealousy, fear, greed, ambition. These qualities don't disappear just because we ignore them. Instead, they sink into the depths of our psyche, silently influencing our thoughts, emotions, and behavior. These rejected traits are not inherently bad. They became part of the shadow because of conditioning what parents scolded us for, what society said was shameful, or what religion labeled as sinful. So we buried them. We learned to smile instead of speak up, to stay small instead of be ambitious, to obey instead of express frustration. Over time, this suppression creates an inner split. The person we show the world becomes disconnected from the person we truly are, and this is where danger begins. Carl Jung believed the most dangerous person isn't the one who shows aggression openly. It's the one who seems perfectly composed, kind, and polite, yet is deeply unaware of their own shadow. Their charm can be disarming, but underneath it may lie bitterness, control, manipulation, or suppressed rage. This person doesn't lash out in obvious ways. Instead, their behavior becomes subtly destructive, passive-aggressive comments, emotional withdrawal, self-righteous judgment, or strategic silence. The danger is not in their intent, but in their lack of self-awareness. They don't know what drives them, so they act unconsciously, often justifying their harm as kindness or justice. This shows up in everyday life more than we realize. Consider the overly helpful coworker who always says yes, never complains, and seems eager to please. But when one small thing goes wrong, their reaction is disproportionate, sudden coldness, resentment, or blame. Or the spiritual person who speaks about love and compassion, but judges others behind closed doors. These contradictions are not accidents. They are signs of an unintegrated shadow, parts of themselves they have disowned and now project onto others. By contrast, someone who has done the inner work is far less dangerous. They know they have the potential for darkness. They've looked at it, owned it, and transformed it. Because of that, they no longer need to wear a rigid mask. They are honest, grounded, and real. Their presence feels safe, not because they're perfect, but because they're whole. To live wisely, you must recognize your own shadow. Pay attention to what triggers you in others. It often mirrors what you haven't yet accepted in yourself. Practice emotional honesty. Ask yourself, what am I afraid people will see in me? What traits do I judge the most? These are the breadcrumbs that lead to your shadow. Once you face it, something powerful happens. What once controlled you begins to serve you. Anger becomes courage. Jealousy becomes inspiration. Fear becomes awareness. The most dangerous sign in a person is not loud. It's subtle. It's the quiet, smiling, well-behaved persona that never acknowledges its dark side. True transformation begins when you stop pretending and start integrating, when you stop fearing the shadow and begin listening to what it's trying to teach you. If you're ready to unmask your truth and embrace your full self, including the parts you've hidden, comment below, "I embrace my shadow." Your courage to face what's within may be the key to your transformation. 3. The shadow shapes us silently. The shadow doesn't disappear just because you want it to. It slips beneath the surface, hidden in silence, shaping your thoughts, decisions, and behavior without your awareness. This hidden force isn't just made up of your anger, envy, or guilt. It also holds your brilliance, your passion, your creativity that was once silenced or shamed. The moment you suppress these parts of yourself, they don't die. They distort. They turn inward, feeding resentment, judgment, and bitterness. And because they are unseen, they become even more powerful. You think you're making conscious choices, but you're not. The shadow is pulling the strings. One of the most dangerous signs in a person is not loud rage or obvious cruelty. It's the unexamined shadow wearing a mask of peace. These are the people who seem calm, generous, even spiritual on the surface, but underneath, there's a storm they refuse to face. They judge others quietly. They manipulate subtly. They withhold love while preaching compassion. Their unacknowledged pain leaks out in the form of passive aggression, moral superiority, or emotional coldness. They believe they've risen above their wounds, when in truth, they've simply buried them. What makes this trait so dangerous is its invisibility. It convinces even the person carrying it that they're enlightened, balanced, or good. But Jung warned us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The shadow seeks expression, and it will find a way. If not through honesty and self-awareness, then through projection and sabotage. You'll find yourself blaming others for the very things you deny in yourself. You'll unconsciously recreate pain in your life just to avoid facing the pain already inside you. And yet, buried in the shadow is not just your darkness, but your forgotten power. The parts of you that were once alive before the world told you to shrink. Your voice, your art, your intuition, your capacity for fierce love. When you finally look into the shadow, you don't just confront what's wrong, you reclaim what was always rightfully yours. That's the paradox. The deeper you go into the darkness, the more light you find. To ignore your shadow is to give it permission to rule you. But to face it, to name it, feel it, and integrate it is to finally live free. Not controlled by unconscious wounds, not driven by hidden fears, but rooted in truth. This is not easy work. It takes courage to be honest with yourself. It takes humility to admit you don't have it all figured out. But this is where real transformation begins, not in pretending to be perfect, but in daring to be whole. Did this message resonate with you? If so, comment below. I see my shadow to affirm your awareness, and let's keep exploring the hidden forces that shape us. 4. Projection and psychological breakdown. Projection is one of the most dangerous psychological mechanisms, yet it often operates silently beneath the surface. When a person refuses to acknowledge the darker traits within themselves, jealousy, anger, pride, bitterness, those traits don't disappear. They are pushed into the unconscious mind, forming what Carl Jung called the shadow. But the shadow never sleeps. What we suppress internally, we begin to project externally. This is when someone starts accusing others of behaviors they secretly battle themselves. They might blame others for being selfish, toxic, or manipulative, not realizing they're describing their own repressed impulses. It's not that these people are intentionally deceptive. Rather, they are unconscious of the war they've internalized. And this makes them dangerous because the threat they pose comes wrapped in charm, reason, and surface-level virtue. As these disowned emotions accumulate, the unconscious begins to reshape them into irrational behaviors. They don't vanish, they mutate. Unprocessed pain and denied truth will leak out through nightmares, sudden compulsions, emotional outbursts, or even patterns of self-sabotage. A person might find themselves trapped in cycles of anxiety or obsession without understanding why. They may behave in ways that contradict their values, hurting those they love, pushing away help, sabotaging opportunities because something deeper is screaming for recognition. The shadow speaks, not through words, but through symptoms. It sends signals like emotional burnout, chronic dissatisfaction, and unexplained fear. And unless a person turns inward with honesty and courage, these signs will only grow louder. At this point, the psyche reaches a breaking threshold. This is where a person either collapses into breakdown or rises into breakthrough. Breakdown comes when the pressure of inner conflict overwhelms the mind. It manifests as emotional collapse, erratic behavior, or mental health crises. But in some rare and courageous cases, this same pressure opens a portal to transformation. The person begins to see their patterns, take responsibility, and confront the shadow head-on. They stop blaming others and start reclaiming the parts of themselves they once disowned. This is the essence of deep spiritual wisdom. The realization that integration, not perfection, is the true goal of awakening. As Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The most dangerous sign in a person, then, is not how angry they get, but how unwilling they are to examine themselves. Beware the individual who is always calm on the outside, but subtly causes chaos around them. The person who never admits fault, never apologizes, and always seems to play the victim. These are signs of someone who has buried their shadow and unleashed it on the world. True strength is found not in how well one hides their flaws, but in how fearlessly one faces them. When we confront the parts of ourselves we fear the most, we rob them of their power. And only then can we stop projecting, start healing, and step into true spiritual alignment. 5. Moral superiority is a warning sign. The most dangerous people, as Carl Jung observed, are not the ones who scream, argue, or show open aggression. No, the true threat often wears a calm face, speaks in a gentle voice, and hides behind the illusion of moral purity. It's not the visibly corrupt who pose the deepest danger, but those who believe, without question, that they are unquestionably good. This belief becomes a shield that blocks self-reflection and a sword used to cut down anyone who disagrees. When someone truly believes they are morally superior, they no longer examine their intentions. They justify control as care, manipulation as guidance, cruelty as truth-telling. They can shame others under the banner of justice or truth, and never pause to ask, is this really love? Because in their mind, love always looks like correction, and correction always comes from them. They no longer grow because they no longer question themselves. This is what makes such people so dangerous. It's not just what they do, it's that they believe what they're doing is righteous. They don't feel guilt or doubt. In their eyes, they are always the helper, the savior, the hero in every story. Their actions are not open to review because their heart is in the right place. But a good heart, without clarity, becomes a wrecking ball. Without self-awareness, even well-meaning people can become sources of deep harm. Think about it. In our modern world, how often do you see influencers, teachers, or even spiritual leaders claim the moral high ground while publicly tearing others apart? Their message is about healing, but their methods are laced with judgment. Their words speak of peace, but their energy seeks control. They don't reflect that they dominate. And the most chilling part is that they genuinely believe they are helping. This isn't hypocrisy. It's unconscious self-deception. Jung's warning rings true here. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. When you understand your shadow, you stop projecting it onto others. You begin to realize that your righteousness isn't always right, and your intentions need constant checking. Real spiritual growth demands brutal honesty with yourself, not about how others behave, but about your own blind spots. A person who cannot be questioned, who cannot say, "I was wrong," who uses morality as a weapon instead of a mirror, is not strong. They are dangerous, because their path looks noble from the outside, but it leads to isolation, conflict, and spiritual arrogance. The true measure of wisdom is not how loud you speak your truth, but how deeply you examine your own heart before you speak at all. This isn't just about watching others, it's about watching yourself. If you feel the need to always be the good one, if you find it hard to admit when you're wrong, if you use love as a reason to control, pause, breathe, reflect, ask, is this love or is this fear hiding behind virtue? Because the moment you stop asking that question is the moment you stop growing. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights that reveal the hidden dangers behind moral superiority and how true growth begins with honest self-reflection. 6. The illusion of goodness. People who insist they are always kind, always right, or always good often become blind to their own inner darkness. This self-image becomes a mask, not just for the world, but for themselves. They start to believe in their own perfection, and that belief becomes dangerous. Because when someone thinks they are incapable of wrongdoing, they stop examining their behavior. They no longer reflect. They no longer question their motives. And what hides in the shadows of that unexamined self begins to leak out in harmful ways. Their spiritual blindness turns into quiet arrogance. They justify every word, every action, because someone like me would never harm anyone. But this is exactly where the danger lies, in the lack of awareness. A person who owns their flaws can be trusted more than someone who denies having any. Because the one who denies darkness is ruled by it unconsciously. They lash out with manipulation cloaked as kindness. They judge others harshly while believing they're being helpful. They may sabotage people, relationships, or communities, all while believing they are doing what's best. And the scariest part? They truly believe they're on the side of light. Spiritual wisdom requires self-honesty. True goodness requires humility. A person who is truly awake does not claim to be perfect. Instead, they say, "I am still learning. I still mess up. I am responsible for the harm I cause, even unintentionally." That's integrity. That's what makes someone safe, because they have eyes to see not just the world, but themselves. Without this awareness, even the most spiritual language can become a weapon. Even a soft voice can deliver emotional destruction. Even a calm presence can hide a deeply wounded ego. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And this is exactly what happens when people repress their shadow. Their inner wounds take over, and they don't even know it. They become instruments of harm dressed in the clothing of peace. And anyone who threatens their illusion, anyone who holds up a mirror, becomes the enemy. They'll twist the truth, rewrite history, or play the victim. Not because they're evil, but because their identity depends on being the good one. This is why we must be vigilant not just with others, but with ourselves. The moment you feel certain that you're always in the right, that's when you need to stop and reflect. True strength isn't found in always being correct. It's found in being honest when you're not. Because the most dangerous sign in a person is not loud anger or visible cruelty. It's the inability to see their own darkness and the unwillingness to admit they have one. That is the shadow we must learn to face within others and within ourselves. 7. Jung's final warning. The true danger in a person does not lie in the presence of darkness, but in the refusal to acknowledge it. Carl Jung warned that the most dangerous individual is not the one with flaws, but the one who pretends to have none. When someone denies their shadow, they unconsciously project it onto others. Their hidden insecurities leak out through passive aggression, manipulation, or moral superiority, often leaving those around them confused, disoriented, or deeply hurt without ever understanding why. This is spiritual blindness in its most deceptive form. It wears a smile, speaks gently, and appears wise, yet it causes harm in silence. In contrast, those who are aware of their flaws are often the safest to be around. They have faced their own inner chaos, admitted their imperfections, and embraced the uncomfortable truths within. Such people tend to be more emotionally responsible. They don't seek to control others to protect a fragile self-image. They don't need to be seen as the good one. Instead, they are willing to be vulnerable, honest, and accountable. And in that vulnerability, there is integrity, there is trust. As Jung said, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. When you recognize your own shadow, you stop projecting it. You stop needing others to carry it for you. But those who believe they have no flaws often justify everything they do, no matter how hurtful. They cannot see themselves clearly because their identity depends on being right. If you confront them, they deny. If you express pain, they deflect. If you hold up a mirror, they turn away. And yet, the damage they cause is real. It's not that they intend to wound, but that their unacknowledged darkness finds other ways to surface. It seeps into relationships, workplaces, and spiritual communities. They become righteous warriors in battles they invented, defending their illusion of goodness while others quietly bleed. What makes this so dangerous is that it often goes unnoticed. We've been conditioned to fear obvious aggression or cruelty, but we rarely question those who appear calm, composed, or spiritually elevated. And yet, spiritual wisdom teaches us that true light is humble. It does not need to dominate, correct, or defend itself. It simply shines. A false light, however, hides the ego behind virtue, and behind that mask is a desperate need to be untouched by blame. To protect yourself, you must develop the ability to feel beyond appearances. Watch how people respond to being wrong. Pay attention to how they handle discomfort, criticism, or the pain of others. Do they listen, or do they justify? Do they take ownership, or do they turn the story back on you? Energy reveals more than words ever will. If someone constantly leaves you feeling anxious, diminished, or emotionally unsafe, your body is warning you. You don't need proof, you need clarity. The real danger is not darkness itself, but the refusal to face it. It is not sin, but the illusion of sinlessness. When someone denies their flaws, they become unteachable, unreachable, and unaccountable. And that is when they become truly dangerous, not just to others, but to themselves. For what is hidden always finds a way out, and the longer it stays buried, the more destructive it becomes when it finally surfaces. Spiritual wisdom invites us to walk a different path, not one of perfection, but of self-awareness. To own our darkness is not to be ashamed of it, but to reclaim our wholeness. Only when we integrate what we've denied can we truly become safe to love and be loved. 8. Reflection and takeaway. When someone seems too perfect, always calm, kind, morally upright, and never in the wrong, it's wise to pause and ask, what are they avoiding in themselves? People who present themselves as spotless often have unacknowledged shadows. The late Carl Jung, a pioneer in psychology, explained that the brighter the light, the darker the shadow. This means that the more someone tries to appear flawless, the more they might be repressing their deeper, darker traits. And those repressed traits don't disappear. They leak out in disguised, destructive ways. You might meet someone who never raises their voice, always smiles, gives generously, and is admired by many. But in subtle moments, they can be emotionally dismissive, judgmental, or cold. These are signs of someone who hasn't done the inner work. Their perfection becomes a performance. And the danger isn't in what they show you, it's in what they refuse to show. Their refusal to acknowledge flaws can turn into spiritual arrogance. They begin to judge others from a place of superiority, convinced that they're morally above everyone else. In today's world, we often confuse righteousness with safety. We assume that if someone is religious, generous, or polite, then they must also be trustworthy. But the truth is, morality can be a mask. A person who never admits wrongs, who never questions their own intentions, and who hides behind a spotless reputation is often emotionally unsafe. They don't leave space for others to be human. And slowly, being around them can make you question yourself, shrink your voice, and feel emotionally confused. Ask yourself, what are they not seeing in themselves? That question alone can protect your heart. Because those who cannot see their own shadow will unconsciously project it onto you. They will blame you for things they don't want to face. They will guilt trip you, spiritualize their superiority, or silently punish you for being imperfect. It's not loud abuse, but it's harm, nonetheless. The more deeply we look into others, the more clearly we begin to see ourselves. If someone's flawless image makes you uncomfortable, examine that feeling. Are you comparing yourself? Are you craving their approval? Or are you sensing something inauthentic? These emotional cues are spiritual signals. They tell you when a person's goodness is real and when it's just a polished image hiding unhealed wounds. True wisdom is not afraid of flaws. Real spirituality doesn't perform perfection. It embraces humanity. Those who are truly safe to be around are not the ones who appear flawless, but the ones who are honest, humble, and self-aware. Be cautious around those who always look good on paper, but leave you feeling small, wrong, or invisible in their presence. Their perfection might be hiding pain they've never dared to face, and your awareness is your protection. To affirm your commitment to self-awareness and discernment, comment below, "I choose to see clearly." Let this be your declaration to look beyond appearances and protect your peace while inspiring others to do the same. Thank you for joining us today on Spiritual Wisdom, as we uncovered one of the most dangerous signs hidden within human nature, often masked by charm, control, or calmness. True awareness begins when we learn to see beyond appearances and listen to our intuition. If this message resonated with you or opened your eyes to something new, don't keep it to yourself like this video. Share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more insights that awaken your spirit. Tap the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming transformative content. Stay aware, stay wise. Do nothing after this, and watch how everything falls into place. Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. Anne Lamott. In a world that glorifies hustle, we often forget the divine power of stillness. What if the breakthrough you're waiting for doesn't require more effort, but more surrender? In today's video, we'll explore the life-changing truth that doing nothing might just be the most powerful thing you ever do. Watch closely, and you'll discover how letting go allows everything to align effortlessly. Have you ever experienced a moment where things finally worked out the moment you stopped forcing it? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if this resonates with your journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this message with someone who needs it today. Chapter 1. Stop chasing. You're blocking yourself. Society has trained us to believe that chasing is the path to having. Chase the job, chase the partner, chase the life. But chasing is a subtle form of fear. It's an energy that whispers, "I am not enough until I get this." What we often don't realize is that the very act of chasing is blocking what we're trying so hard to receive. The vibration behind the chase is rooted in lack, and the universe doesn't respond to desperation. It mirrors your inner state. Carl Jung said it best, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Behind every frantic goal is usually an unhealed wound. Maybe it's the fear of being alone. Maybe it's the belief that love must be earned. Maybe it's the feeling that if you stop hustling, everything will fall apart. These are the silent scripts running beneath the surface, shaping your desires and driving your actions. In spirituality, the real work isn't about getting more, it's about becoming whole. And to become whole, you must pause and ask, what part of me still feels empty? That question is a mirror. It invites you to stop trying to fix the outside world and start tending to the inner world. The more you chase to avoid the void, the deeper the void becomes. But when you sit with your emptiness, not trying to escape it, but honoring it, you begin to heal. This shift is subtle, but powerful. Instead of praying for more, you begin listening to what your soul needs. Instead of trying to control the timeline, you begin trusting divine timing. Instead of proving your worth, you begin remembering it. Manifestation flows not from effort, but from coherence, when your thoughts, emotions, and energy are aligned with truth, not fear. Every time you try to force something into place, you are affirming that you don't believe it can come naturally. That disbelief is what creates friction, and that friction becomes resistance. But when you let go, when you stop pushing, stop striving, stop begging, the energy softens. Your frequency rises, and the things that once felt far away begin to flow into your life with grace, not struggle. This is what it means to live spiritually, to stop chasing what's already yours, and instead become the version of you who can hold it with peace. When you embody wholeness, you no longer attract from emptiness. You become the magnet, not through effort, but through alignment. You stop asking for the door to open because you realize you are the one holding the key. Comment below. I release the chase. I choose alignment. If you're ready to stop striving from lack and start receiving from wholeness, your healing is the magnet for everything you desire. Chapter 2. The unconscious is always listening. Life is not testing you, it's echoing you. It doesn't respond to your intentions alone. It mirrors the truth of your unconscious energy. Every situation that repeats itself, every delay you face, every closed door, is not the universe working against you, but the universe responding to the vibration you emit without even realizing it. That's the heart of spiritual wisdom. Reality reflects who you are deep beneath the surface, not who you pretend to be on top. That's why affirmations fail when they're spoken from the mouth, but contradicted by the soul. You can say, "I am abundant," 100 times a day, but if deep inside you feel undeserving, that inner feeling overrides every word. The unconscious doesn't respond to what sounds good. It responds to what is true. It listens to the tone of your energy, not the tone of your voice. As long as there is a split between what you want and what you believe, life will reflect the belief, not the desire. You must understand that your unconscious mind is the real director of your reality. It runs the show in silence, influencing your actions, decisions, and even your energy field. You might consciously desire love, success, or peace, but if your unconscious is wired for rejection, failure, or conflict, that's what will repeatedly show up. This is not a punishment. It's a pattern, one that remains until you become spiritually aware enough to break it. Yet instead of facing this internal divide, many people try to cover it with positivity. But positivity is not power when it's used to avoid fear. Smiling over your sadness, forcing gratitude when your heart is in pain, pretending to be okay when your spirit is tired, that's not alignment, that's avoidance. And avoidance breeds distortion. Real transformation begins not when you run from discomfort, but when you sit with it, when you let the fear speak, when you allow the anxiety to rise without numbing it. That's when healing begins, not from doing something, but from being radically honest with what already lives inside of you. The moment you stop trying to fix everything, the process of true realignment begins. Not because you've solved the problem, but because you've stopped resisting your current state. There is a sacred power in stillness. It is in doing nothing that you stop interfering with your own evolution. The spiritual path is not about constantly adjusting and tweaking yourself to become someone new. It's about finally allowing yourself to witness what already is with clarity, with acceptance, with presence. The more you chase alignment, the more you push it away. But when you pause, breathe, and allow your energy to settle, you create the fertile space where transformation can actually take root. This is the paradox. When you do nothing, not out of apathy, but out of surrender, you allow life to reorganize itself around your truest frequency. In that stillness, your unconscious begins to shift. And once your energy shifts, your external world cannot help but follow. If this message has awakened something deep within you, leave a comment of truth. I trust my unconscious is aligning with my highest good. And if this resonates, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss a moment of spiritual alignment. Chapter 3. Detachment isn't giving up, it's awakening. Letting go is not defeat. It is the sacred recognition that control was never truly yours to begin with. When you release your grip on outcomes, you're not losing power. You're finally stepping into alignment with a higher spiritual intelligence. The energy of forcing and fixing blocks the very blessings you long for. True flow begins when you stop clenching and start allowing. Surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It's the moment you realize that your worth is not tied to the result, and your peace no longer depends on things going your way. Detachment is often mistaken for indifference, but it's something much more powerful. It is the return of your energy to yourself. Apathy is a numb escape, but spiritual detachment is full presence without obsession. You no longer chase, beg, or plead. Instead, you choose to anchor your awareness in the now. You stop pouring your emotional energy into things you can't control and begin cultivating inner stillness. From that stillness, clarity arises. You begin to see that holding on too tightly is what keeps you stuck, and letting go is what sets things in motion. When your energy says, "I need this to be okay," you are still rooted in lack. The universe listens not to your affirmations, but to the frequency beneath them. Even if your words speak abundance, if your energy is dripping with desperation, you are only reinforcing the absence of what you seek. Manifestation isn't about saying the right things. It's about becoming the vibration of wholeness. When you no longer need, you are finally ready to receive. Detachment breaks the loop of lack and invites in a frequency of fullness. There is immense spiritual power in the statement, even if it never comes, I am still whole. This is not resignation, it is mastery. It is the moment your spirit declares, I am complete. You stop living from the illusion that something outside of you will finally make you enough. And paradoxically, this is when everything begins to shift. You're no longer vibrating from emptiness, but from embodiment. Wholeness is no longer a destination, it's your default setting. The universe cannot help but respond to that level of inner congruence. Life does not respond to striving, it responds to being. When you release the need to control, to force, to manipulate outcomes, you drop into the natural rhythm of existence. Your spiritual energy stops scattering and starts flowing. You begin to embody calm confidence instead of frantic doing. You don't need to chase because you are already aligned. The more you try to grab the moment, the more it slips. But when you settle into your being, the moment comes to you. This is the silent magic of spiritual detachment. Everything begins to fall into place, not because you forced it, but because you stopped needing to. Are you ready to release the need and embrace your true power? If so, comment below, "I am whole without it," to affirm your commitment to the path of spiritual detachment and awakening. Chapter 4. Allow the void. After surrender, silence arrives. Not the peaceful kind that brings relief, but the kind that feels like an uncomfortable pause, like life has gone quiet and you've been forgotten. You've done everything right. You let go, released control, stopped chasing. But now, nothing seems to move. This is the void, the in-between. It feels empty, but in truth, it is sacred. Carl Jung called this the creative void, a powerful space of invisible reorganization. It's not that nothing is happening. It's that everything is happening beyond your senses. This is where your ego starts to panic. The mind wants noise, motion, proof. It wants certainty. But the soul thrives in stillness. In this gap between your past and your future, your spirit is being rearranged. Your old patterns, attachments, and identifications are being dissolved, not destroyed, but transformed. The void isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's the space where spiritual growth takes root before it becomes visible. Like the moment right before a seed breaks the soil, it's quiet, but it's not still. Most people fail this part of the journey because they can't handle the silence. They think something's gone wrong, when in truth, something sacred is unfolding. The test isn't whether you can act, but whether you can become. Can you feel like abundance even when it hasn't arrived? Can you act like love even before it's returned? Can you sit in the quiet and know that you are still supported, still held, still guided? This is the magnetic shift. When you stop proving and start embodying. When your stillness becomes your frequency becomes your signal, and the universe responds not to your effort, but to your energy. You don't manifest from desperation. You manifest from coherence, from alignment, from becoming the version of you who already lives the life you desire, even if nothing outside has changed yet. Spirituality asks you to trust the invisible, to know that what you see isn't all that exists, to understand that when life goes silent, it's not the end. It's the divine pause before acceleration. It's the rewiring of your nervous system, the upgrade of your emotional code, the quiet construction of a new reality. Your only job is to allow it, to feel the discomfort but not escape it, to resist the urge to force or fix, and instead surrender even deeper. This is not laziness. This is mastery. You become magnetic not by doing more, but by needing less. And that is when everything begins to fall into place, not because you chased it, but because you became it. If this message resonates with your soul, leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss powerful spiritual insights like this. Comment below, "I trust the void, my abundance is being built in silence," to affirm your faith in the unseen and step into your magnetic power. Chapter 5. Integrate, don't obsess. Your desires are not random wishes. They are sacred spiritual assignments, tailor-made for your soul's evolution. They appear in your life not to torment you, but to guide you. The issue is never the desire itself, but the attachment you form to it. When longing becomes an obsession, you're no longer in alignment with the flow of life. You've stepped out of trust and into fear. You've moved from receiving to gripping. Attachment is a signal. It shows you where you've begun to outsource your sense of self-worth. When you tell yourself, "I'll feel enough when I have this," you turn a sacred desire into a condition for survival. And that's when your energy begins to repel instead of attract. Obsession is not a sign that you care. It's a symptom of a wound that still whispers, "I am not enough unless." That wound doesn't need more effort. It needs healing. Carl Jung's teaching on individuation reminds us that wholeness comes not from chasing the light, but from integrating both light and shadow. If you ignore your shadow, the insecure, uncertain parts of yourself, they will hijack your desires and twist them into addictions. But when you face them with compassion, your desires become clear again. They return to their original purpose, soul expansion, not self-escape. You don't need to push harder. You need to come home to yourself. The spiritual path is not a hustle. It's a process of remembering that you were never broken to begin with. When you begin to heal your relationship with yourself, you stop needing the world to complete you. And when that need disappears, your frequency shifts. You become coherent. You become magnetic. Not because you're doing more, but because you're aligned. This is the paradox. The moment you no longer need it is the moment you're finally ready to receive it. The universe responds not to begging, not to obsession, but to calm certainty. Not the loud energy of striving, but the quiet power of integration. When your inner world is whole, your outer world begins to reflect it effortlessly. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So the spiritual invitation is not to chase the life you crave, but to embody the version of you who already feels worthy of it. You stop grasping and start radiating. You stop searching and start allowing. And in that space of non-resistance, everything begins to fall into place. This is not magic. This is alignment. This is not luck. This is the natural response of the universe to a soul that remembers its own enoughness. Integration is the portal. Heal, align, and let go. The rest will follow. Have you ever noticed how your deepest desires mirror your inner healing journey? If this message resonates, share your thoughts in the comments. What desire have you been obsessing over, and what is it teaching you? If you're ready to release the grip and integrate instead, comment, "I choose inner peace," so we can walk this spiritual path together. Chapter 6. The ego wants control. The soul wants peace. The ego is always chasing control, whispering that time is running out, that you're falling behind, that life should be happening faster. It clings to timelines, compares your path to others, and convinces you that if you're not constantly achieving, then you're failing. But that frantic voice inside, that's not your soul. That is ego. And ego thrives on fear, scarcity, and pressure. The soul, on the other hand, wants only peace. It moves in stillness. It trusts divine timing, and it never needs to prove anything. When you find yourself overwhelmed, caught in loops of overthinking, pushing harder, or doubting your worth, pause and ask, is this coming from ego or essence? That question is a gateway to clarity. Ego defines your value by external success. It counts what you have, what you've done, and who's watching. But the spiritual path invites you to root your worth in presence, not performance. Your soul doesn't measure, your soul remembers. It remembers your wholeness. It remembers that you are already enough. To reclaim your peace, you must stop tying your self-worth to outcomes. Let go of needing to be validated by the outside world. The more you chase, the more you signal to the universe that what you desire is missing. And in spiritual truth, you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. That means the moment you embody peace, alignment, and sufficiency, life begins to mirror it back. Reality bends not when you push, but when you surrender. As Carl Jung said, what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. Resistance is the energy of the ego. Acceptance is the posture of the soul. This shift is not passive, it is powerful. Choosing peace over pressure is not about giving up. It's about stepping into trust. It's about saying, I no longer force. I align. And from that place, you begin to see that what truly belongs to you cannot be missed. You stop trying to micromanage your destiny and start allowing it to unfold. You stop sending out the energy of desperation and start embodying the energy of certainty. Nothing moves until your energy does. So when you choose stillness over struggle, simplicity over stress, and alignment over action, you are not doing less, you are becoming more. More spiritual, more grounded, more magnetic. And in that sacred pause, everything begins to shift. Because the universe doesn't respond to force, it responds to frequency. And your highest frequency isn't control, it's trust. Peace is not what you get once everything works out. Peace is what makes everything work out. That's the real power. That's the wisdom your soul already knows. Don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom on how to shift from ego control to soul alignment. If this message resonated with you, comment below. I choose peace over pressure. Let's walk this path of inner freedom together. Chapter 7. Shadow work is manifestation. Work. You can't manifest a life of light if you're only willing to love the light within you. The parts of you that you've rejected, your fear, your shame, your anger, aren't mistakes. They are messengers. Jung called this the shadow, the hidden self we push down, hoping no one notices, including ourselves. But true spirituality isn't about pretending to be healed. It's about choosing to meet your pain with presence. When you manifest without acknowledging your shadow, you don't create clarity, you create chaos in disguise. You might attract a relationship, a job, or a situation, but if it's born from trauma, it will reflect that trauma back to you. The universe doesn't respond to your wants. It responds to your frequency. And if your frequency is secretly shaped by fear, that's the blueprint your reality will mirror. Shadow work is not some dark detour away from manifestation. It is the doorway to it. You cannot become whole by rejecting half of yourself. Real manifestation is integration. It's not about wishing harder or scripting more affirmations. It's about accepting all of you. It's about letting your pain speak and realizing that it's not trying to hurt you, it's trying to free you. Every suppressed emotion holds spiritual data. Every wound carries wisdom. And until you're willing to face it, you'll keep trying to manifest from a fractured identity. Wholeness is magnetic. When you stop resisting your emotions and begin to hold space for them, your vibration becomes coherent. Suddenly, your energy field no longer signals, "I'm not enough," or "I have to prove something to deserve this." It begins to signal trust, peace, and grounded power. And that's the signal the universe responds to. Not the desperate trying, but the surrendered allowing. Integration makes your spirit clean. Not clean as in perfect, but clean as in aligned. It says, I know who I am. I've met my darkness. I've made peace with my past. I no longer chase because I no longer feel separate from what I seek. You don't rise through denial. You rise by becoming radically honest about your emotional landscape and choosing to sit with the discomfort rather than escape it. That's the spiritual path no one glamorizes. But that's where your manifestations shift from illusion into embodiment. When you stop needing your desires to fill a void and instead become the version of yourself who no longer fears the void, everything changes. You stop chasing things to complete you and start attracting experiences that match your inner wholeness. You can say all the right things and still repel the very things you desire if your nervous system is still tuned to scarcity, abandonment, or fear. Because energy speaks louder than words. Healing the shadow is not about fixing yourself. It's about remembering that you were never broken. It's about reclaiming your fragments and realizing they were never meant to be thrown away. They were waiting to be seen. When the shadow is brought to light, your vibration shifts from wounded longing to embodied presence. And that is the most powerful manifestation tool there is. If this message resonates with you, comment, "I agree," to affirm your commitment to healing through integration. If you see it differently, share your thoughts with "I don't think so." Your voice matters in this spiritual journey. Chapter 8. Don't block your own destiny. The greatest block to your destiny isn't the universe, your past, or anyone outside of you. It's you. Self-sabotage is subtle and often invisible. It's not loud, and it rarely looks like destruction. It sounds like self-doubt. It feels like hesitation. It hides behind perfectionism, procrastination, and the constant pressure to do more. It whispers, "I'm not ready," or worse, "I don't deserve this." That's not divine timing holding you back. That's your own energy contradicting your desires. You say you want it, but deep inside, you're signaling the opposite. You chase success, not because you feel called, but because you feel empty. You run toward goals, hoping they'll save you from yourself. You keep moving forward, hoping something outside of you will finally make you feel whole. But here's the spiritual truth. Anything you pursue to escape yourself becomes another form of self-abandonment. Success that is built on avoidance eventually collapses. When your actions are rooted in fear, the outcome will reflect fear. You attract what your soul believes is safe, not what your ego demands. Change isn't born from more effort. You can hustle for years and never change a thing internally. Real transformation begins the moment you stop trying to achieve your way out of pain and instead look within to alchemize it. Your destiny doesn't respond to your willpower. It responds to your alignment. The identity you hold, the silent story you repeat, is the gatekeeper of your manifestation. Until you shift who you believe you are, nothing outside of you will shift either. You are not chasing success. You're becoming the man who no longer needs to chase. When your internal identity matches the life you say you want, the universe doesn't have to be convinced. It simply mirrors. You stop begging life to prove your worth. You stop scripting and strategizing, hoping to manipulate an outcome. Instead, you settle into truth, the spiritual awareness that you are always enough, always worthy, always chosen. From that place, manifestation becomes a byproduct of who you are, not a reward for what you've done. The moment your energy stops resisting what's meant for you, everything begins to fall into place, not because you forced it, but because you finally stop blocking it. You begin to attract not from need, but from wholeness. You stop searching for signs and start being the sign. Destiny doesn't unfold through effort. It unfolds through surrender, through presence, through remembering that the door was never locked. You just needed to stop standing in your own way. That's the spiritual key. Don't become more. Become aligned. If you're still here and this message resonates with you, comment below. I'm ready to align with my true self. Your words help us grow this community and bring more clarity to those on the path of purpose. Thank you for watching this message from Spiritual Wisdom. Sometimes, the most powerful action is no action at all. Just presence, surrender, and trust. Let life unfold without resistance, and you may be surprised at how effortlessly things begin to align. If this message spoke to your soul, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming insights on living a spiritually aligned life. Stay still, stay present, and let it all fall into place.